Welcome back to the Hawkins Report, a Stranger Things podcast by LSG Media. I'm your host, Dean.
I'm Jessica.
And on this week's episode, we're talking Chapter 1, Madmax. Jessica, I have a question for you regarding Stranger Things Season 2. Less a question, but more of a, do you want to hear a funny story?
Sure, I love funny stories.
This is going to be a funny story. I know you're pretending not to know what this funny story is, that you already really know what this funny story is, but it is fucking funny. And it just goes to show you that maybe sometimes you got to take a little break, maybe take a little snooze and not operate under duress, which is what I was doing today. Relax. I wasn't saving the world or anything. You don't have to feel bad for me. But so I'm watching the episode, preparing for this week's podcast for our return to Stranger Things Season 2. Very excited to return to Stranger Things Season 2. Pretended like I was like, oh, I'm skeptical, but as the previews were coming, I was more and more excited. And I'm like, all right, cool. So now I hadn't watched Season 1 since we watched Season 1 and covered it. So it's been a while. I didn't do a rewatch. I did not make time for a rewatch. So here we are thusly. So I put on the episode, I'm watching it, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. Crazy cold open. I have no idea what's going on. There was a couple things going on with the kids at school, a couple of things going on with the kids in their relationships, a couple other things that happened. And I was like, man, I guess they're sort of going to walk us back and tell us what's happening in this season, because I'm a little confused. And I look up, I had about 13 minutes left in the episode. We were prepared to record shortly thereafter.
Around 9:30-ish.
Mm-hmm. And you walked over to me, and as I was down here watching in the basement, down in the wardroom, and you were like, what is that? And I was like, that's Stranger Things.
I basically was like, how far into the episode are you? And then I was confused with what I was seeing.
I was like, there's 13 minutes left. And she goes, you watched the wrong episode. What the fuck? I watched the wrong episode. So here's what happened. Jessica watched the first episode, and
this
admittedly,
first thing, obviously.
I'm a little overtired. I've been kind of crazy busy, and I just came in and pushed play, and it started. I saw, they're going to have Ghostbusters costumes. You saw the preview, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I was like, oh, cool, yeah, this is what should happen. I remember the preview. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, man, I feel like there's a lot of threads that they're being real loose on. I hope they go back and like establish a baseline. And you walked down and you said, that's the second episode. And I was like, oh, fuck. So I got up to the 13 minutes left mark in the second episode. And then I quickly said, we need to update our recording time yet again, because I have to now watch the first episode since I just watched 40 minutes of the second episode like a jackass. So here we are now. And I've watched the first episode and spoiled some of the second episode.
Not for me, though.
But here's what I can assure you. Much like our Season 1 coverage of this wonderful Duffer Brothers joint, we are not going to spoil ourselves. We're going to watch an episode and record an episode. We will not talk about episodes that are in the future. We will only be talking about the episode in question. That's how we did it last time. That's how we're going to do this time. It seemed to work out for us, seemed to work out for you guys. And I promise I will watch these sequentially going forward and not be a fuckwit and do it the other way and spoil everything. That was pretty dumb.
I just can't imagine what happens in the second episode where you weren't like, something's wrong here.
I said to myself, I was like, huh. I said, this is definitely some sort of flashback.
Flash forward?
No, some of the stuff I saw. I was like,
oh, Jesus, don't spoil anything for me.
Anyway, so that's it. So let's go ahead and dive right in. And I guess we're going to do this the way we normally do it, as we're returning to the second season. Maybe future episodes will be different, but this one we're going to do it how we've done it the whole time, which is we're going to just sort of work our way through the scenes and talk about everything as a whole. But Jessica, why don't you just give me your opening impressions on how you originally felt about Stranger Things with a season 2. I remember what you said. I think you were a little skeptical.
Yeah.
How you how that skepticism changed as we closed in on the premiere, and how you feel about Madmax overall.
So I think the thing with a show like this, and I stand by my original commentary, I guess, of this being a one-off could have been the best thing for the show. And it remains to be seen if it is or if it isn't. But regardless of that thought, I was into the hype and ready to fucking go and couldn't wait to see all my friends again. And I was on board.
Yeah. Did you miss Steve?
Oh, Steve, the love-hate relationship we have, he and I. Now he's just trying to go to college like a good little boy or stay like a creep with Nancy, but we'll get there. So I was excited. I couldn't wait. I closed at work. I close at work most Fridays. And I got up this morning and I was like, well, don't have to work till noon. What am I going to do today? So I watched the first episode of Stranger Things, of course.
Of course.
Which I go into work and everyone makes fun of me. They're like, hey, Jess, when are you going to watch Stranger Things? Already did, guys. Come on. Don't you know me? Anyway, I liked the first episode. I think they set up a lot of different things that mean we can continue and we can have new stories and introduce new things as opposed to just retreading the same stuff, the same like Mike and Eleven storyline. You know, we're meeting different people like Eleven. We are seeing, the new girl in town. We've got this new person looking for Eleven in a different way. It's not just the people from the lab. Now we have this PI, not even, he's like an investigative journalist, like hired by Barb's parents, who's also, on the 11 trail. So we have other things going on that are going to make this something more as opposed to just kind of being repetitive, which is easy to do, I think. They could just be like, let's see what happens with Will now. But they're going to do more with it.
Yeah, sure.
And Samwise Gamgee. So, there's that.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, Winona, let me make love to you now, Miss Winona. Please.
I can't wait to talk about him because he's my new fucking favorite character in the show.
Could we just go into the supply closet?
Oh my god, it's so
I brought some lammas bread, Winona. Please.
I'm like fucking Sean Astin.
No, Winona.
Oh my god, he's fantastic. I love him.
Yeah.
I love him. When they're watching fucking Mr. Mom. Oh my god, I can't. I know, we'll talk about it. But every time it showed him on the screen, I was like, you're so funny.
So did you like the ep?
I did. I liked it, but my emotions are tempered. I want to see where we go next. Before I get in too deep like I did with... It's not like the first time I watched Stranger Things and I watched the first episode and then I watched basically 4 episodes in a row before finally being like, hey, Dean, we need to podcast about this, because I literally couldn't stop myself because I'd never seen anything like it. It was so special. And it still is, and I still care about these people so much. But I'm not just one episode in, I'm like, all right, what are we going to do next though? I before I can, fully commit the way I did last season. I'm trying to keep my emotions in check.
Yeah, you're also by your own admission super into disappearance stories. So
there's no disappearance here.
Well, that's my point. Maybe that was the immediate hook for you.
That's true.
First time around was a kid goes missing. Oh, it's sci-fi. Oh, it's
that's true. It's basically everything I love in life is missing people and science fiction. And like if you throw in a serial killer, you've got the makings of my favorite thing that has ever existed.
Yeah.
So
I found this episode great. We fell right back in where we left off in terms of these relationships. Nothing felt forced. Everything felt natural, as if they didn't miss a beat. We fall right back into Hawkins. We're immediately pulled back into this small town and the intrigue that harries it. And I liked that. There's a lot to like about this episode, and a lot of, like you said, a couple of new threads are developing, threads that have to be developed. We have to deal with some of these aftermaths, specifically, how are the children affected by what happened? How is 11 affected by what happened? How is the rest of the people affected by what happened? We see all of that stuff. That matters. We're going to have to deal with that, even if we are forward in time about a year.
Yep, almost exactly.
Also, a good choice. I like that. And I'll segue right into the opening sequence here, which is I really liked the opening sequence, Pittsburgh, October 28th, 1984. I like the scene specifically because it shows It just mildly hints at a much larger world, which I like. I like the idea that 11 may not be entirely unique, and I think that's kind of neat.
Right. This is super fascinating to me that now we have an 8.
Yes.
Who has different powers than 11.
Did it say 8 on her wrist?
Yes.
I thought it said 6, but either way.
No, it's 8. It's
Okay.
008.
Got it.
The idea that not only is there another one that other people have gone through this, but that her powers are different than 11's powers is very fascinating to me.
Some sort of illusion.
Yeah, like she can make people see things that aren't there.
It was great, and it was cool to see somebody with a grasp of these powers willfully and wantonly using them for bad behavior. Thieving and robbery, and then, of course, causing major accidents. I think that this is a cool idea. And I know this won't mean much to you, Jessica, but, there's this old role-playing system, and we've talked about it before on the Science Fiction Film Podcast, called The World of Darkness. And it's like this, it's a little darker, vampires and all these other weird creatures and shit. But it's cool to see them almost establishing this larger world where, yes, there's not going to be an 11 on every corner, but in Pittsburgh in 1984, there was another person, an older girl too, a teenager or maybe early 20s, I would say. I couldn't say.
But of course, and that's why she's an 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she was earlier.
Yep.
It's interesting, and I like the idea that there are more of them and that we can discover more people.
Yeah, for sure. So I liked it. I thought that was a nice way to open us. It's teasing. They don't come back to it. It's just hey, heads up. We're establishing this right in our first of 9 episodes. We're going to tell you that there is a larger world here that is beyond what we've seen. I think that's cool.
And I have to be honest, if they never touch on this again until the finale or something along those lines, that wouldn't bother me either.
It's because we don't require it.
Right. It's a tease of something to come.
Sure.
They're just letting you know, hey, at this date right now where we are in our story, this is what's happening somewhere else.
Yeah. I was watching the scene, and these bank robbers, they were like the James gang, except more diverse, right?
Yes.
Like every ethnic background was represented. It was hilarious.
Yes, it was nice. In the 80s too, nonetheless.
And they couldn't shake the popo until she decided to go ahead and use her illusion magic, master of illusions. And I like how she says boom, and then it crumbles. I think I can't help but think of the Force, right, in Star Wars.
Yeah, right.
You have Jedi and then you have Sith.
Right.
One uses it for one reason, one uses it for other, and it's sort of, the idea of dancing along that line and what it means. It's cool. I liked it.
Agreed.
But I guess her name is Callie.
Yeah, that based on the subtitles, which is funny because then I went and read a bunch of articles about this, and you know that I fight with the internet when I read articles, so it's such a mistake for me to do it. I went and there was one article, and I'm sorry, I can't remember what website it was, but literally everything they said, I was like, you're fucking stupid and I hate you, basically. They're like, we have this unnamed girl. And I want to be like, if you put on the subtitles, you'll see that she had a name.
They call her by her name.
They call her Callie.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
K-A-L-I. But they say it like Collie. They say it with like a weird accent.
Yeah,
but
Collie.
If you watch the subtitles, it's she's got a fucking name. Just saying.
She does.
Internet. When the internet says stop it with the Barb stuff, no, internet, we're not going to. Okay, the world loves Barb. The end.
Kali, a Hindu goddess, if you must know. However, Kali's earliest appearance is that of a destroyer of evil forces. Over time, she's been worshipped by devotional movements and tantric. Yeah, Sting loves it. Sex variously as the Divine Mother, Mother of the Universe, Adi Shakti. And there's a whole internet article, of course, about Kali, which I'm not going to get into. But I was just curious if they were trying to be cute with the name.
Yeah, they probably are.
That's the opening.
Fuck around.
You see that she's got her weirdo concentration stamp sticker on her arm. And then we shoot over to the title card, opening credits, and we dive right back into what I would call a wonderful establishing scene. And let me just say this now as we lead into this episode. I love that we are seeing, I feel like all the kids were treated pretty fairly, pretty equally. I feel like Lucas could have gotten more.
I agree.
And now he's getting a ton.
Lucas and Dustin
great.
Have their whole own plot line that is almost like separate from the other kids. And I love that about the show because they deserve like standalone time because they're both so fantastic.
And it makes sense because Dustin and Lucas didn't really have a plot line. So
No.
to establish their own by putting them together and having this interesting rivalry over Max, it's fucking adorable and it's great. It gives them really good friendly banter. We get to see that. We get to see Will and what he's dealing with, and we get to see, of course, Mike and what he's dealing with.
Or Finn Wolfhard, basically a god among children now at this point.
It's a little weird.
I mean, he's literally the greatest child actor of all time, I feel.
It's pretty heavy.
I love him.
What about the rest of these kids? What are they,
They're
chop
all
liver?
fantastic, but he was also in It. Was fantastic in It.
Well, what are you going to do?
I don't know. Say that he's the best of the best.
So Dusty's tearing his house apart. His mom calls him Dusty.
That was funny, too.
And he's looking for quarters. And I love the way we establish this. Boom, he's tearing his house apart, looking for quarters. Dustin calls Lucas, who has the funniest fucking lines in this episode.
I know, he was so good.
He's like, what's your haul? He's like, I'm going to be taking a shower because like a real man, I worked today. It's so great. They're gathering quarters because they want to go to the arcade, right?
Oh my God, it's fantastic. And then Mike's like, oh shit, I don't know yet. And he just steals a bunch of money from Nancy.
That's awesome.
Who, by the way, is a piggy bank. Like, Nancy, you're a junior in high school.
Yeah, it's so 80s.
You don't need your piggy bank anymore, young lady.
It's so 80s. Yeah, she does. What do you think Steve's going to do with that kind of fucking essay writing? He's going to be a rock breaker. Just better hang on to that piggy bank.
Oh my God.
Oh shit. Although rock breakers up here make a shitload of money.
Good Lord.
But anyway, yeah, so this was a thing, boy, I'll tell you. There was nothing like having a pocket full of quarters and going to an arcade. For me, I remember the utter joy of putting a $20 bill into one of those change machines. Mm-hmm. You're like, yes, they're falling out. You're stuffing them in your pockets so you can play Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter all night. Oh, those were the days. Those were the days. And I had do you want to hear something crazy? Madmax had a high score. Do you know that I had a high score in a game?
What game?
Mortal Kombat 2.
Wow.
Yep. DLM was number 1 for 2 days.
Damn.
And then he was number 5. Then he was number 12. And then he was gone.
Damn.
It's wins in a row.
Best 2 days in your life.
Best 2 days of my life. Nothing could compare, honestly.
Oh, I know. I imagine.
Nothing could compare. Nothing. It was pretty impressive. I had some pretty cheesy shenanigans with Reptile and Scorpion.
Okay.
Scorpion more.
I don't know what that means.
Scorpion was my go-to guy. Yeah, somebody might though.
Yeah.
Scorpion was my go-to guy. I had a pretty sweet little jump kick, teleport, punch, sweep, uppercut, get over here combo. That worked pretty well for me.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Ladies, you can put your clothes back on. I'm taken. Okay. Stop throwing your undergarments at my face and asking me to take you on the Mortal Kombat 2 cabinet.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Get over here, they say. Shit. So anyway.
Go to the arcade.
Devo's playing. Boom, whoop it. Boom, 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 boom. Crack that whip. Bring your mama back. Music they could never make today. And then we see our boy getting dropped off.
This is
Take me through this.
Now, there's something about this. So our kids are main guys from last season that we spent all of our time with. They all get together on their bikes and they arrive, and we see Joyce dropping Will off, which is, of course, right? Of course, this is the way this goes right now in Will's life. And it's like funny, and you're like, oh God, a helicopter parent. But it's also very sad because, of course, this is how Joyce is going to act. You know what I mean? She wants him to have his normal life and do his thing still, but how can she not be like, I'm going to drop you off, though? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it very much establishes that Joyce is trying to, like, encourage Will to be a kid and do these things, but at the same time, like, keeping that watchful eye over him that she didn't used to. Not in a bad way, but in, it
makes sense, yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, you would imagine, having gone through what Joyce has gone through,
right.
She's not just going to simply... It's going to take time for her to allow Will the freedom I'm sure he wants.
Right. And you know what? The internet shits on Joyce. And internet, stop it.
My, she's not behaving in a way that doesn't make sense to me.
She's literally behaving like the most normal person ever. Okay? With her boyfriend, Bob. So, whatever.
Yeah.
Also, the thing about this, like, Dragon's Lair game...
so fucking hard.
Kind of tangent. This is like a tangent a little, and I won't get into it too much. But obviously Ready Player One is coming out, and I have very low hopes for it. I think it's going to be fucking terrible, which saddens me because I think that book is fantastic.
Preview's a little dicey.
Oh, real fucking dicey.
Real
it makes me
fucking
almost want to
dicey.
vomit like that.
Wow.
It makes me so
That's
sad.
twice you wanted to vomit on this podcast. That's an intense reaction.
So Dragon's Lair is a big part for anyone who's read Ready Player One. That's like a huge part of the stuff that they have to do in the game. They talk a lot about Dragon's Lair, so it was so crazy for me to like see it on the screen, and then it made me think about how Ready Player One is probably going to suck, and I got really sad.
Oh, I thought you were going to tie this into relevance to the podcast we're covering.
There's no relevance. It's just the Dragon's Lair made me think about that, and I wanted to bring it because this is like a show that's not that like Ready Player One isn't set in the 80s, but the 80s nostalgia is such a huge part of it.
Sure.
And I don't think the movie's gonna do that. But anyways, that's all.
Yeah.
That's all. It made me think of Ready Player One. That's all.
There you go. Yeah, I do remember there was a TV show. It wasn't. I don't think it lasted long, but I remember this video game. It was so hard. I never quite understood it, and I would watch it played in the arcade, but I would never actually play it. I would play like Punch Out and like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat and Spy Hunter, and there was this Star Wars game where it was like little grids and you like sit in it and shoot at them fucking guys. But in Gauntlet I played, but I never really got into Dragon's Lair, but it was pretty popular from what I recall.
Yes, I from
seem
what
to
I
remember
recall, which is nothing.
I seem to remember it being very hard based on the way people would react to it.
Based on how I read about it in that book that one time, I agree with your assumption.
Yeah, I heard it was hard. The chat's telling me it was hard, so maybe it was. Really hard.
trust the chat. They're knowledgeable people.
It's the truth.
Bunch of knowledgeable human beings.
Mickey in the chat says, in the chat says, Afterburner. Absolutely, that was a great game. Afterburner was the shit. It was like a flight sim. It moved. It was like the first, like, oh, cool, it's moving around with the joy. You like turn the stick, the flight stick, and anyway. So let's talk about
Someone beat Dustin's high score.
Yeah,
on Dig Dug and some other.
Was
game.
it DLM?
No.
Who was
Fuck
it?
no. It was Madmax.
Fucking Madmax.
And you know what? There's some weirdo named Keith that works at this place.
He's so tall compared to them.
He's a fucking weirdo, and he was eating like cheese puffs.
Yeah.
And he was a creep.
He's funny.
But he was funny. And the funniest part is when fucking Mike says that I am not prostituting my sister.
I forgot about that.
It literally made me laugh out loud. It was so funny. Because that's what that kid wants.
Was that on the first ep or the second ep? I'm sorry, I watched twice by accident. I watched both by accident. Whoopsie.
Is Keith in this? Don't give me spoilers.
What?
Don't give me spoilers about the second episode.
I didn't.
Okay.
Stay on the mic. And so, sorry, once per episode, I got to tell you.
Whatever.
So yeah, Dragon's Lair, and we learn about Madmax. The kids argue a little bit about this stuff. Will has a vision of sorts, and
Like
this
he's in
is
the upside down.
This is important. Do you want to talk to me about this?
Very
and
important.
What you were thinking about it? It looked amazing. I'll say that right off the bat.
So, they end season 1 with, Will going in the bathroom and like the thing coming out of his mouth and stuff. So we know that he's affected in some way where he's still connected to this world. And here we see, it's almost like they're talking, and all of a sudden everybody's gone. Like it starts slow. He turns around and then he sees like the snow like you see out there.
Cool.
And then he walks outside and all of a sudden it's this big storm. It's this thing. And it's bigger and bigger and more. And Mike finally snaps him out of it. But this is important that there's still this connection between Will and this, the upside down. There's something that's still there. He's connected to it in some way because he went down there and he got out, I guess. Or was kept down there because later he says something about how like he knows what the monster is like thinking. Like there's like a connection between him and the monster.
Indeed.
Which was always a thing that Eleven would say. Like that they were, the same thing she would think in her mind.
Sure.
So I think that this is something that's really going to be developed, which is good. I'd like Will to have some time and get to do some stuff.
Yeah.
He interests me. And I like this opening, establishing kind of scene where we get to see this is still involved. This is what it looks like. This is how things have been for Will for the past year. And, are seemingly getting worse as we come up to the anniversary because Paul Reiser told me so.
Right. And it also does the classic kind of sequel thing, which is important, which, yay, we've rescued Will. It's over, right? No,
Right.
it's really just beginning, right?
Right.
Not only that, but I also think it's interesting to imagine some of these, like if you could ascribe gaming traits to them, maybe 11 is this thing, maybe Will is this other thing, and maybe they are different things, and maybe Callie is this other thing. But it raises some questions. Why was Will singled out in the first place? Why was he the target?
Like just because he was alone when the monster was looking? Like, is that why Barb was taken?
And Barb didn't make it. Will did. Is Will clearly is connected. He's clearly special. He has these visions. It's almost like he is he having a vision, or is he literally shifting into the outside, up into the upside down, and
certainly
shifting
possible.
back? If he did, we would assume his friends would be like, "Where's Will?" Right?
That's true, but they weren't.
They weren't paying attention.
But Mike came over and was like, "Hey, Will," and
right, and he kind of snapped out of it.
So that's true. I didn't even think about that.
So maybe he has some sort of. Was he chosen coincidentally, and now, like you were suggesting, has the upside down affected him in a way to where he is now imprinted?
Right, and is there a specific thing where he's taken, Barb is taken, Barb ends up dead, he doesn't? Is that a choice, or is that just how it happened?
Indeed.
You know what I mean?
It's a great question.
Which I wonder. And since we're still talking about Barb in this season, maybe we'll get more of an explanation as to why Will made it, or maybe it's just coincidence. You know,
sure.
Maybe it's just that he was lucky.
Floyd in the chat says, I love how the signs are still kind of working, like the real world is somehow leaking in.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's depending on what we're looking at. If there's one thing this episode did with two, I guess you'd call them supernatural incidents, is that it established that maybe everything is not what it seems.
Right.
It starts with illusions. Maybe this one was simply a vision and some sort of sight beyond sight, like Thundercats.
Right.
Like he can see beyond that which our normal perception allows, and he's sort of just seeing into the upside down, and that could explain the arcade signs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's a lot of cool ideas, though. I like that the upside down is a place to be fleshed out.
Yeah.
I love the idea of this mirror image universe. This sort of, mirror image is not a good way to say it, but almost like funhouse, deadly funhouse mirror image of the other world. It's of our world. It's so cool.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of this stuff is end of the world type of shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the rolling lightning, the red lightning was cool, which we see later, but I just imagine to see the fucking 4 horsemen flying out of that cloud. Right. It was cool looking. Anyway, like you said, Mike snaps him back out, and we get what I call the Hawkins montage.
Yes.
Very cool. A nice way to reacquaint us quickly with Hawkins, and it's very effective at setting a mood and making you feel the return to Hawkins. I love that Terminator's playing.
Me too. I wrote that in my notes. You know how I feel about Terminator.
Great movie. Hopper at the police station. And then, of course, this is interesting. This might be another thread that they want to work on. I didn't catch this man's name. Did you?
Which man?
Hopper at the police station.
Oh, yeah, that's Murray. He's the person that Barb's parents
Murray.
hired.
Okay.
Yes.
So Murray is... I didn't make that connection. Sorry, I had to watch 2 eps.
I understand. I only watched 1. I got you.
So Murray is relentlessly pursuing Hopper. Hopper doesn't want to hear it. He thinks this Murray guy starts talking Russian spies, a Russian child, a girl with psionic abilities.
Yeah, I like that he says psionic, and they're like, huh? He's like, psychic.
Yeah. The man goes on about Russian weapons. Hopper bites his apple and then throws it away.
Yeah, because he's fucking Hopper.
What do you think about that? I thought, does that have something to do with the pumpkins?
No, I just think it's him.
He didn't dislike the taste. He kind of looked at it and tossed it. Maybe he just lost his appetite with Murray.
I really think he's basically like, fuck you, dude. Stop asking questions. Nothing you're saying means anything about anything, even though it does. He's just trying to
play interference.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, the guy starts to consider maybe Barbara was kidnapped by Russian agents or something like that. Right?
Russian spies.
Russian spies. Are we supposed to believe that Murray is in fact competent, or that he's really just an ambulance chaser type?
I think that Murray is. I think that he's supposed to be like a conspiracy theorist almost. That's what he strikes me as, based on just the way he talked and how they kept making jokes about aliens. Like that's something he's been into for a while before he got on this Russian spy conspiracy. And he's not a private investigator. He's a journalist. He's an investigative journalist. So he's not even a PI that they're hiring. So I really feel like
PIs tend to operate a little more clandestinely than, say, an investigative and journalist, right?
Right, but a PI is what you hire, I feel like, when you're looking for somebody, not an investigative journalist. So I feel like that's almost a weird choice. Like, is it trying to say, like, Barb's parents are real dumb? Or is it just, like, a weird, like...
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know. I think that he's...
Maybe an investigative journalist was chosen because they believe that there's some sort of government fuckery and he's going to uncover it.
And I have to say that I actually think that Murray does believe that the stuff he thinks is true. That is the impression I got of him. And I know he's taking like a lot of money, obviously, from Barb's parents. But I do think that just based on his conversation with Hopper, I think he believes the things that he's saying. And he's obviously correct about the stuff about 11. For not completely, but somewhat.
Yeah.
You know, there was a girl with psychic powers because that other guy is like, oh, like that girl that made that kid pee his pants. And Hopper's like, nah, it was just a rumor.
Oh, Mig's in the chat. He wanted a donut. His secretary switched it out for an apple. He didn't want the apple.
Oh, that's right.
Fucking A.
He's right. Because he started eating the donut and then she took it away from him. No, you're absolutely right.
Fucking eagle eye.
He is so right. Now he says it was a glazed donut. I remember.
Savannah Nelson in the chat says, Barb was defenseless. She was taken. Will had a gun in his hand, so it might have helped him in escaping and hiding. And obviously, they always said that he was good at hiding too, right?
They did. Oh, that's great. That's actually a very valid point.
Yeah. So he could have, but the impression of the Upside Down has been imprinted on him for whatever reason.
For sure.
Right?
Probably because he escaped. Maybe most people don't.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty unique experience.
I would say so.
So Hopper gets a message about...
Contaminated pumpkins.
Yes. Meryl, easy there. I was going to say it. Meryl's pumpkin patch. And Hopper tells Murray to scram.
Yeah, he's got to go. He has an emergency he has to go to, he says.
One of the things, this is nice callback to season 1 because Hopper had to deal with this kind of shit before. Remember, like just nonsense. He was not interested in dealing with any of it.
Right, yeah.
Small town shit.
His character is very much the same that we see in this scene. Yeah. That it was in his scene getting to the office at the beginning of last season.
Yep. So let's move on to some of our other characters and how they are doing and how they are affected. Seemingly okay until we go to Barb's house, but that'll be in a minute here. But Steve and Nancy.
They're still together, guys, a year later. Who would have thunk it?
Damn.
Not me.
Nancy's proof and Steve's homework. Not much of a Willie wordsmith, this guy.
It's a college application essay.
Yes. Nancy's being nice.
He compared his grandfather fighting in the war to him winning a basketball game.
Yes. Yes. This is like, this reminds me of rich white people things. Doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, once when I was riding a train into New York City, these black ruffians called me a cracker. My life is forever ruined. I totally understand why you get mad at the N-word now. I totally get it. That kind of shit.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what that voice was, but
Steve Harrington doesn't know. He means it.
He means it.
He means well.
He's not. Yes.
I can't believe
He's a fucking doofus.
I am going to be the Steve Harrington fucking supporter. I hope I start hating him.
Is it his new haircut?
No, I like.
Yeah, you had a very. This was like imagine your relationship with Steve in this podcast is very much like probably every high school relationship you ever had. Tumultuous at best.
I'm very fickle, and I change my mind so often. But me and Steve, we went out on a high note, and like he was kind of cute in this. I just like think of that scene from the preview where he's got like the glasses on, like the sunglasses, like he's at a party or something. I'm like, he's so cute. Okay. He's just so cute. But he kind of was a little bit of a creep when he was like, "Oh, Nancy, maybe I'll just work with my dad, and I can just like watch you while you're a senior." And I was like,
I don't think
Steve.
he meant like from the bushes with binoculars.
No, but it still was like, I was like, ugh. But I mean, they did go through a traumatic experience together, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then they say they love each other. And then mullet guy comes.
Dude, this guy's so badass.
Yeah, but you know more than we do because you watched the second episode. So we know nothing about this guy.
Just look at him.
Except he drives up and they play
In
a
a
rock
fucking
you like
T-bird.
a hurricane.
It is so hilarious. This entrance is so funny.
It is 80s as
and
fuck.
There's clearly going to be more of this kid than meets the eye, right? Isn't that how it's going to be?
Would you ever show him? I love him. He might be my new boyfriend with his mullet.
Yep. I know his name's Billy.
I know that too just because I Googled.
California plates, great boots. Those were the boots. If you had those boots, you were badass.
You know
the
what?
buckle, the Harley boot.
I tell you, I didn't look at his boots because those girls were all talking about his butt. So I just looked at that.
Powerful.
Because that's what they told me to do.
Yeah, they like that ass immediately.
Sure did.
I like that rump.
Nancy might have liked it too, but Nancy already has enough men she's in a love triangle with, so she better slow her roll. Okay, Nancy?
Yeah.
Don't get any ideas about Mullet Boy.
Well,
Billy.
what are you going to do?
Oh, that's the story.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
My note says some rando with a mullet and his sister that we don't know riding a skateboard arrive.
There you go.
So,
well, the girls love him immediately. They like that ass.
Rando girls are also into him. I also wrote my notes.
Mm-hmm. So, obviously, he's going to be a thing.
And as is she, which we'll learn much quicker.
As is she, which is much quicker. Yes. Will is getting crappy newspaper clippings tossed into his locker that say zombie boy.
That is fresh.
It was probably Dustin. Just kidding.
No, it was probably it was probably like fucking Henry Bowers. I don't fucking know. I don't remember the name of the bad guys from the first season.
You don't have to.
All right. Thank you.
But what's this guy's name again, this teacher?
Mr. Clark.
I don't know about Clark.
I wrote creepy teacher.
Creepy Clark? Yeah. He's all fucking boned up over the brain.
Of course he is.
Yeah. New girl shows up, and boy, could this not be any more uncomfortable? Hey, how do you make a new girl from a whole new place that knows nobody feel really welcome? You stand her up in front of class and give a bunch of adolescent people about 40 to 50 more nicknames they can use to tease her relentlessly, you nitwit. Is this guy the dumbest teacher ever?
Yes.
He studies the brain and does not use his own. You don't do this, man.
He's got a lot of problems.
My name is Max, not Maxine, okay? She doesn't talk like that, but I felt like making her talk like that today.
I want to be like, yeah, we get it. You're a tomboy and you're fucking tough, okay?
And Dustin's like, Madmax.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
All the boys are
that
so
bitch took
cute.
my high score. I don't know why he's talking like Keith David.
I don't know.
Motherfucker. That's a Keith David voice. That's all I got.
Okay.
Sorry.
Who's Keith David?
How dare you?
I don't know.
So the boys are intrigued, of course.
Obviously.
So here we are. A lot of establishing behavior, a lot of establishing scenes. Right?
Yeah.
Joyce is holding down the general store.
Yeah, she is.
That's going to pay Will's medical bills.
You know what? I don't think Joyce pays Will's medical bills. I feel like that shit gets comped because they're secretly like doing government experiments. So I think it's okay.
Okay. Sounds about right.
I like that,
like maybe that's the point. Maybe it's a great point.
I also like that Joyce is working on the Ghostbuster costumes.
Great catch.
Yeah, that was my first note. And then in walks this bro. And
Dude.
It's Samwise Gamgee. And I know he's going to be Joyce's boyfriend immediately. And I'm so excited. I'm so...
Dude, God.
And don't get me wrong. I shipped Joyce and Hopper in a way until I met Bob, a.k.a. Bob the Brain, a.k.a. the Barb of this season. He is the best of the best.
I can't believe you're interested in the least interesting men in these romances. Steve, not that interesting compared to Jonathan.
No, Jonathan is like I actually have like a crush on Jonathan and it really fucking creeps me out.
It creeps me out too.
I feel romantically for him.
Because he's supposed to be 15 or something.
And I for sure have a crush on him.
See, this is where you know sexism is not equal in America. Because if I said that shit, I was like, damn, I kind of want to fuck Nancy. But she's 15. Yeah, exactly.
But I would
be
Google,
a monster.
I had to Google his age
You
last
say
year.
it, and all of a sudden it's fine.
Well, he's 23, so yeah, he is too young.
No, I know. I'm just kidding.
Wait, Natalie, Nancy's only 20 in real life, so she's way too young for you. Steve Harrington is at least 25. I could date a 23-year-old. That's not too weird.
You can keep him.
You can for sure not date a 20-year-old.
You can keep him.
Way too.
You can keep him.
Yeah, but his picture that comes up when you Google Charlie Keaton age is ugly as fuck. So I don't know. Because I thought I was in love with
Let's
him.
move on.
All right. Enough about the men I love.
Bob.
Except for Bob.
Bob needs to work on his haircut immediately. It is a tragedy.
No, it's beautiful.
No, it's an immediate problem. It needs to be rectified immediately.
I can't. When he makes the jokes about the fucking orange pumpkins, it is adorable.
Oh, God.
And it's so adorable when him and Nancy make out. Nancy, I'm sorry, Joyce.
Okay. So listen,
so
here's
cute.
what we're going to do.
I can't.
Haircut, strike 1. Okay? Doesn't like scary movies, strike 2.
He's so cute.
He's in love with Frodo Baggins, foul tip. He's still at the plate. Healthy libido.
He makes
for
out with
Joyce.
Joyce. Yeah.
Healthy libido for Joyce. He reaches base at least. But I'm telling you, this guy is on the chopping block.
I like, this is the thing that I like about this scene. And again, I think.
Did you like that I was using, you didn't even catch that?
Your baseball reference?
My baseball metaphor?
Yeah, got it.
Like what's his name uses later in the episode? Sorry, I was trying to make a dumb joke.
Wait, who?
Uh-oh. Is that the second up?
No, I feel like it happens this episode.
Isn't there a baseball metaphor in this episode?
What?
Yes, because stealing the money, the dad is like, you're 20 strikes or something.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, fuck, is that the second episode I'm not supposed to know about?
Mike's dad.
Mike's dad.
That fucking weirdo, fucking murderer, pedophile.
He's the guy that has a trunk full of runaway heads.
100. Yeah, we know about him. Okay.
Him and Ed Kemper.
Yeah, best
So,
friends.
look,
Yeah, I wanna say
tell me
things
why
about
you
Bob.
love Bob. Just go ahead.
Because he loves Joyce, and it's so sweet. And he's like, oh, I feel like a teenager, and it's like so cute. And Joyce is just trying to have a normal life with a normal boyfriend. I think it's cute that they went to high school together, and she never would have given him a second look.
Why do you think he feels like a teenager? Did he blow in his pants early?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably, yeah. I would say yes.
Dude, Sean Astin, loved Winona Ryder growing up.
Oh, yeah.
That's why he feels like a teenager. Is that a meta joke?
Probably. He was in the fucking Goonies, this
It'd be
kid,
like if I
and
got
now
to
he's
do
making out with Winona Ryder.
If I got to make out with Winona Ryder in this scene, I'd probably say the same thing.
Exactly.
There you go.
So, but this is what I like about what this episode did. They did such a good job establishing like where we are now and what the relationships are like between people. Like how, Will's made his way back into the group and everything. How we see that Nancy and Steve are obviously still together. They're saying I love you to each other.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, even though we all know she's in love with Jonathan. That's a different story.
Maybe she loves 2 men. Is that a
Yeah,
crime?
we're going to get to that for sure. But the thing about Bob the Brain, aka Samwise Gamgee, is they establish, 1, that they're together, they're making out in the storage room, and 2, then we establish that this is a committed relationship because he's like, hey, I'm going to come over. It's Jonathan's turn to pick.
Mm-hmm.
So he's obviously spent
There's
time
a
with Joyce,
routine.
the kids. There's a routine. They take turns. And I like that. I like that we get that. And I never feel like, I'm like, okay, he spent time with them. And then in the scene later, I felt the same way. I think they did such a good job of establishing this this relationship as something that's been going on for extended period of time and how it's worked between all of them and how, Jonathan and Will are probably happy for Joyce, even though they probably are like, this guy's a fucking creep, but he's also nice.
Yeah. He's not a creep. I don't get creep off him at all.
No, I get like sweet man who's going to get his heart broken when Joyce bangs Hopper.
Mm. Yeah.
That's how I feel about it.
I'll give you this. He's more interesting than Dewey from Scream.
I disagree.
All right. So Hopper goes to Merrill's. His pumpkins are blighted, man. He blames Eugene. And he says, well, something about a patent, about how Eugene had this idea. And apparently what we're led to believe by way of subtext here is that Merrill probably stole this fucking idea from him. And now he's thinking Eugene's getting revenge. Hell of a coincidence. Day before Halloween, he tells Hopper. Hopper hears a whole noise in the field, goes for a sidearm, which I appreciate because in so many movies, they never do. He walks into the fields, gets spooked by a crow. It takes off. Caw, caw. Eric Draven comes out of the shadows and kills Hopper. Just kidding. Just making sure you're paying attention. Anyway, so a blighted field. What's this mean? What are you thinking here? Is this innocuous?
No, it definitely means something. I know he's like, oh, this guy poisoned, but it's not. There's something more to it. It's not somebody came and poisoned his pumpkins.
I love
there's
shit like
more
this.
to it.
I love when things in the town go awry.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. It's just, it feels so October, Halloween, scary movie season thing to do.
Yes.
Like, oh, the old pumpkin patch ain't what it once was.
Yes.
It's all been rotted out and the strawberries turn black. Something weird like that, right? Like, oh, the cornfield is fallow for no reason. What happened? I don't know. She's gone. Shit like that's cool.
Right. I agree. I like it. It's a typical Halloween creepy thing, and it's good. And I hope we come back to it, and I hope we see other things like this, you know?
Mm-hmm. So I love that this next scene is a perfect example of why girls and boys can't be friends when there's romantic interest involved and it's never seen through. It's a perfect example. Like, even if Nancy didn't have some kind of feeling for him, obviously he does for her, and they can all just pretend.
But it's so clear there is such a bond and such a connection and a chemistry between her and Jonathan that it's like undeniable. Like, and I love the way this is set up. She gets invited to the party. She asks for a second invitation. You're like, oh, she's taking it for Steve. And she like runs right up to Jonathan to establish these two have stayed friendly.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve is aware that they've stayed friendly.
And doesn't care.
And he's cool with it.
Yeah, they kind of all went through a thing together.
Right, exactly, which is probably why Steve is cool with it. But the conversation she has with Jonathan, the way she talks with him, it's so obvious and so clear that there's like this chemistry between them and this thing that is so much deeper than like a high school type relationship, like this care she has for him.
Yeah, and it's also, it's does she make a joke about what writer? Kerouac? Vonnegut. She makes a joke about Vonnegut right after dealing with her boyfriend who can barely put sentences together, right?
Exactly.
I mean, it's not a coincidence.
Right, yeah, right. He'd rather read Vonnegut than go to a Halloween party.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve wrote an essay comparing his grandfather's wartime to winning a basketball game. Because at the end, they both won. Mm-hmm. That was the connection.
So, Steve shows up and, he does a thing and they're cutesy together.
Super cutesy.
Did you notice? Now, I will say this. I'm not surprised. I don't think it's out of character for Jonathan to have just sort of walked away.
I agree.
But I kind of feel like Steve might have said, hey, what's up, Jonathan? Right? Like addressed him in some way because...
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he was distracted with Nancy, whatever. But I'm not saying it's bad writing. I'm just like, oh, too bad. I would have expected him to just say hello.
And
they kind of have this shared trauma.
And if Nancy is friendly with Jonathan and openly friendly with Jonathan, which they're making it clear that she is, then Steve has to be at least like publicly friendly, at least tolerant of Jonathan and speak to him. So for him to flat out ignore him doesn't make sense. So I'm going to assume that Jonathan walked away before he had a chance to say, hey.
Right.
He had to make out with Nancy first in front of Jonathan, which he obviously did on purpose.
And he's
not an idiot.
Right. And this is an important scene because this was a thing. Like, all of these things had to be addressed, and they were.
Yes.
And I think they were addressed fairly perfectly with the amount of time spent. We didn't need a whole thing.
Nope.
We need to see the way they interacted together at this Halloween party. It was good chemistry. Perfect. And then we see Steve show up and Jonathan walk away. That's all we needed. No,
it's so well done. It does a great job of establishing Steve and Nancy still a couple. Nancy and Jonathan are openly still friends. Steve is aware.
Yeah.
That's what we need to know.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I'm sure we'll see them at this party together. I'm sure Dean already has in the next episode if I had to make a guess.
So the Madmax boys are on the prowl.
Oh my God, it's so funny.
She's skating. They're trying to figure out if she's the one that broke the top score. Of course, they're all excited except for Mike. Now, we haven't talked about Mike much.
No, not yet.
Do you want to talk about Mike a little bit here?
I love him.
He's going through a tough spot, huh?
He misses 11 still.
Right.
It's actually the sweetest thing in the world.
And of course he would, because it's a shitty way for it to have ended. That sucks for him.
The way he is with the walkie, even like originally in the first scene when they're getting the coins, and he just waits and they're like, why are you on this channel?
Right.
And he's on that channel because that would be the channel he would talk to 11 on or whatever. And it's so sad and so sweet, and you feel for him so much.
Yep.
That all these guys are so... It's so funny because we see Dustin and Lucas so caught up in this Madmax thing, but we don't see Will caught up in it because just being involved in the fun of like, oh, spying on her and but she's dropping the trash and stuff. But Will's not really into it because he has everything else on his mind. And Mike's also not really into it, and that's why we see Dustin and Lucas being... You know what I mean? It's
cool to watch Mike behave in what I think is a realistic fashion, which is there are times where he is able to get caught up in the fun he's having with his friends, but then it creeps in. It's this gnawing reminder.
Like when, we'll get there with the yard sale toys. Oh, my heart. It's so
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah. It's interesting, and I think they're doing a good job with that. And it also makes me think more about the Dustin and the Lucas character. Dustin is sort of devil may care, happy-go-lucky kid, and he just is going to enjoy and live his life. Then there's the Lucas kid who's obviously going to have fun too, but he's much more serious, much more
Yes, and he
stoic.
always was. He was that way the first season
Yes.
too. In the little, we got much less of them the first season than we did of Mike. But those personalities were established in the first season. They definitely have stuck with them this season. I really like it. I like seeing more of those two a lot.
And my point in bringing that up was the fact that that's how they're both going about carrying on.
Yes,
They're both relying on the characters that have been established in the first season and behaving in a way that I would imagine they would, which is pretty cool.
I agree.
So anyway, they're all excited except Mike. So she tosses something in the trash. They grab it. Stop spying on me, creeps. It's funny. And then William is told that his mother is at school.
Yeah.
And he takes this long, tough walk through the hallway. We're not quite sure why. I was like, is he that embarrassed to be picked up from school? But no, it's because he knows where he has to go.
Right.
Right? And he's clearly bummed out. They drive off to this place. Mom, of course, is offering the pep talk as much as she can. Tell them what you saw. I'll be with you the whole time. It's going to be okay. Things of this nature.
They meet up with Hopper,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting that he's still so involved, but makes sense also.
Because he understands.
Right.
Yeah. So Will undergoes all kinds of tests. Blood, BP. I love that they decide to do these close-ups of these tests because they're so invasive.
Yeah.
And then Paul fucking Reiser shows up, the great betrayer from Aliens. And you just know he's a bad guy.
No, it's going to be a red herring. He's going to be a good guy somehow at the end
Yeah, I guess.
because we all think he's a bad guy.
Yeah,
They
maybe.
have to do something different. He can't just be a bad guy.
Yeah. Except we see him in cahoots at the end.
I know, but maybe he's not in cahoots. Maybe he's pretending to be in cahoots to not be in cahoots.
That's some deep level spy shit for a doctor.
Do you remember when Paul Reiser was also on the TV show Mad About You?
Yeah.
All right, just wanted to bring that up.
So anyway,
Dr. Owen is his name according to IMDb.
I'm going to call him Dr. Reiser.
I'm going to call him Paul Reiser as well.
So what's your desert island candy pick? If you have to pick just one.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, I wouldn't even have to hesitate.
Really?
100%.
Mine too.
Anyone who picks anything else is a fool.
Wow.
Okay?
It was close. It was a runner-up between that and Snickers.
No, not even close.
I mean, if I want to be practical, I'd say Snickers because at least there's peanuts in that thing and I might survive longer on a desert island, but they're both good choices. And I like them all better than like the brighter candies. Like I like the chocolate more than like say Skittles, but I still like Skittles too.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, no question.
So good, right?
And the part in this that's crazy is
And did Will pick Reese's Pieces?
he said Reese's Pieces,
Not bad.
like E.T., but he didn't pick it. Joyce mouthed it to him, and then he said it
Why?
because he wasn't answering.
Okay.
And she was like pushing him to answer, and she told him what to say, and then he said it. And like that, I really picked up on, and I had the subtitles on, and I rewound it and watched it again because the subtitles tell you like that Joyce does it first, and then he says it. Because I kept reading all these internet articles that were like, and he picks Reese's Pieces, even though he doesn't want to because he's not into this thing. I'm like, no, it's not even that. He doesn't want to because he's like, I don't care about this shit because this dark stuff is happening to me and I don't even know the answer. Like his mother has to prompt him to give an answer because he's got too much dark shit going on in his head. He can't even say what his favorite candy is on his own. Like that's very important. And like, so for people who missed it, like, it's not just like he was like, oh, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to answer because I don't trust this guy. It's that he can't even be bogged down to think about normal stuff that normal kids think about because of everything else,
Sure.
I don't know. I think it's very, very simple and very easy to miss and very important.
Another reason you can't trust Dr. Reiser is he picked mounds.
That's disgusting. I want to punch him in the fucking face.
Wow, that's quite the reaction. You should probably go see him and get checked out. He
No.
can give you some mounds.
Mounds, any candy with coconut in it.
No, you're wrong. Almond Joy's. Nope,
disgusting.
you're wrong. Almond Joy's solid.
Wrong. And I used to hate coconut and I still don't really like it. I like coconut flavoring.
That's how it starts.
No, the texture of coconut is disgusting. It's not candy.
You're a vile creature.
The end.
I hope you
okay.
get pulled into the upside down.
Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, Reese's Pieces, York Peppermint Patties. I ate one of those today because we have them at work.
Well, Will says he felt frozen, scared frozen. I felt like this evil was looking at me. Dr. Reiser continues. What did it want? To kill everyone else. Holy shit, Will.
This is so important because Will is in the mind of the monster. This is what I'm talking about, this connection between the two of them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Where he's saying like, oh, I know what it wanted.
Yes.
It wants to kill everyone but not him. Like he knows this, which is trying to show us that I think there's like this connection between them now because he was in there and he got out.
Of course. Will draws while Joyce chats with Dr. Reiser. He described the inner. What's his name? Dr. What? I'll tell him his fucking name.
Dr. Owen is his
Dr.
name,
Owen describes the anniversary effect and how it's going to get worse before it gets better. He may get worse. He may try to lash out. Joyce asks what to do, and he says, look, you got to treat him normally. Joyce, of course, doesn't love this idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the doc says, look, I'm on your side. I need you to trust me. What a weird, why are you saying this? Why are you talking like this? This is suspicious behavior to me immediately.
Yeah, on purpose, because at the end, he's going to be a good guy.
Oh, God. Hopper tells Joyce that Will is going to be okay. He also says PTSD is a real thing. He kind of talks about that a little bit. And then Hopper asks about Bob the Brain.
Love that fucking guy.
Tells Joyce to call him should things get worse. The doctor waves to Hopper. Hopper just ignores him.
Oh, perfect Hopper. He's an angel. Love that guy. I love that guy too. Love so many
we
people.
see Dr. Owen in cahoots with the bad guys, of course. More like he's the head guy. He's there, and they're sending a dude into the Upside Down or whatever.
He's got burn some shit.
He's got like this incinerator in his hands.
It's like The Thing. It makes me think of The Thing.
Alien, The Thing, Aliens.
Or Alien, yeah. I have The Thing on the brain for some reason
Me too.
recently. I feel like we just talked about it
I really
with
wanna watch
somebody. And I can't remember who, but I feel like I talked about it in depth recently. Oh, when we were talking about scary movies.
So this guy torches this viscous matter.
And it's mad. It screams. It hurts.
Obviously.
Well,
It's being annihilated by fire.
yeah, but I don't know.
I
Like
think it would not feel good in the Upside
Khaleesi
Down.
would be like, this is cool. Like, you know?
Well, I don't think the Khaleesi looks like that, and I certainly don't think that she's in the Upside Down.
Well, she might be.
Yeah. Well, Dustin and Lucas, they playfully chat about Max, and the talking continues. They see her get out of Billy's car, arguing, lots of yelling.
Lots of yelling. So Billy's a douche, is what we're trying to establish.
I'm glad that I'm glad that we're imprinting on this young girl how to handle her conflicts in the future by yelling and screaming for no
and
reason.
Then slamming a door, which is how I handle my conflicts as well. So Maxine, I'm with you.
Great. When can you get an annulment? She begs Bill off as he speeds. She pegs Bill off as he speeds away. She's at the arcade. She's crushing Dig Dug. And these guys are spying on her like, it is Madmax.
I don't know what Dig Dug is, but it's a horrible name for a game, and it scares me. Like, it sounds so weird.
You can leave now.
What kind of game is that? Like, what do? You dig a fucking hole? I don't
Yeah, I didn't play much Dig Dug, to be honest with you.
Well,
I played better games where you fought people or killed things. Mike at dinner, he's being told to come up with 2 boxes of toys to get rid of. His dad makes terrible baseball analogies, something about strikes and being off the team. And that's about it. Mike fights back on this, right?
I have to sorry, I get distracted by Dig Dug. Oh, yeah. The thing I find interesting about this scene is they're like, hey, Mike has been getting into a lot of trouble.
Yeah, did you catch that?
Two different things. Getting into a lot of trouble, stealing money, graffiti in the bathroom, talking back to teachers. And also when he says, like, I'll give away some toys, but the rest have too much emotional value. You're like, yeah, okay. But then when you see him, like, putting the toys in there, you're like, oh, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're like 11. It's actually very sweet.
Did you ever have your parents tell you have to get rid of your toys?
No, but we used to have yard sales.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents would say, my dad, not my parents, obviously. My dad would be like, hey, we're going to have a yard sale. You're going to put all your stuffed animals out in the yard. We're going to price them. It's going to be 1 stuffed animal for $2, or you can get 3 for $4. Like, that would be the deal.
What does your dad come from, an Arabian fucking marketplace where he negotiates all day long?
Oh my God, you don't even know about our yard
Jesus
sales.
Christ.
So we would set up our yard sales.
My friend, for you, $3.
We would set up our yard sales, and we'd have to put all our stuffed animals out and all our toys and all our stuff. And then we'd price them with pricing guns from the supermarket, because my dad works for a supermarket. and everything would have a price, and then we would haggle with people. And at a young age, I learned how to haggle very well.
And you suck at it.
No, I did it very well at a young age.
Yeah, well, that skill has been lost.
And
had to step in when you were buying a car. It's fucking brutal.
Oh God, yeah. Well, I'm terrible at buying cars. But and then we would have a lemonade stand, and we would make coffee for people because we were like real smart.
Mm-hmm.
Like my dad's like, you know how to make even more money? Coffee.
Did you roofie anybody?
No.
Okay. Did your dad?
No.
Okay.
And then at the end of our yard sale,
Sounds like a lame yard sale.
all the money we made from our yard sale, we got to split between the sisters to buy souvenirs when we went on vacation.
Well, wait a second. What if you had a better fucking stuffed animal lineup? You're getting screwed.
No, we always
This is
had
some
to split
communism bullshit.
I know what the bullshit was too. I feel like I worked harder than my sisters at those yard sales.
Fucking A.
But then at the end, I'd be like, I really don't want to
sisters-
sell
Ugh.
this stuffed animal. And halfway through the yard sale, I would take stuffed animals and I would hide them.
Sounds like a bunch of crap.
So that's the story of my yard sales in my childhood. We used to have yard sales every summer. It was fantastic.
You know what I did? I freelanced. Fuck that organized shit. I took my shit and I was like, you want my Rambo with the survival knife? $6, motherfucker. Give me the $6. I go to store, buy fucking two Darth Vader, a Lando, and a Han. $2.65 a piece at CVS. Take that shit, son.
Actually,
You want my fucking Lion-O Thundercat? I got 2 of him for Christmas. $4.
no, it wasn't like that.
That's how I rocked it.
I had
man.
to give
didn't
away
fuck
my
around.
stuffed animals, and the stuffed animals was the hardest part. And then at the end of the day, as it got like later and later towards the end of the yard sale on Sunday, you know what happened? We'd start marking down. We'd start lowering those prices. My dad would be like 50 cents for 2 stuffed animals, and I'd be like, "Oh God, I better hide the good ones."
Yeah, I don't really like Mike's setup here. I don't like that his parents are like, put your shit in boxes, we're gonna sell it. And then
The
do
truthful
what?
boxes? That's bullshit.
Then your dad's gonna fucking buy duct tape and razor blades.
And fucking put women in the basement.
Jesus, man. Anyway,
Fuck.
let's talk about Steve and Nancy at Barb's house. This is a great scene. Take me through this. Can I just say something?
Yes.
Can Barbara's whatever mic they're using, whatever boom mic they have down on him, I don't want to listen to that man eat chicken.
I do.
I was watching
on
this with
purpose.
headphones on, and I was listening to him eat KFC. But don't do that. I have to edit that. It's so gross. Fuck.
You say you're gonna edit it, but then you won't.
It's true. I just said it to tease you. But yeah, I hate that noise. Ugh, it's brutal. I could hear. It's disgusting.
So I might be wrong about this, and please correct me if I am, chat. But when Nancy and Steve talked about the dinner plans earlier, and they were like, "Oh, we canceled last time," they didn't say it was Barb's parents. So it was a surprise when we find out that's where they're going. If I remember correctly, we see a for sale sign in the yard, and then we get into the house and we see a zillion pictures of Barb, the fucking queen that she is. R.I.P. Barb, we miss you. And Barb's mother is so like, I forgot to cook. I'm so sorry. They have the KFC. It's so, this scene is fucking so sad. It's so sad for Barb's family, who all they want is like justice for their kid, because, you know, Will came back, but not Barb. And this is very sad.
I mean, are they implying that they're selling their house to fund this guy?
Yes.
This is outrageous.
That people do this in this circumstance. This is not out of the realm of possibility at all. And immediately, as soon as like they said, "Oh, we found someone who wants to take Barb's case," I was like, "Oh," I wrote in my notes, "They have to sell the house to pay him?" ? Like right away. The scene with Nancy where she goes in the bathroom and she cries is so good, because of course, like, she feels this like extreme guilt about what happened to Barb, right?
Yeah.
How could she not?
Absolutely.
And Steve is a fucking standout in the scene. He's so funny when he says it's finger licking good.
It's funny shit. Also, the balls on Barb's dad to call Hopper lazy.
I know. How dare he?
How dare you call anyone lazy, sir?
And
I don't want to hear it's about your glands, sir.
I have to say something about the KFC that they offer instead of dinner. Speaking of, I already said about my sisters and how we shared the money equally. I have like a book club, as you know, and maybe some of the listeners know. And everyone's supposed to bring food to book club. And people like make things at home. And sometimes people are lazy and they pick up like, you know, hummus and fucking carrots. And one day, I swear to God, no joke, my sister brought...
You're such an elitist.
No.
You're like, oh, what's this? You didn't bring any caviar?
I like hummus and carrots. But one day, one day my sister came and she brought KFC, like, as her offering to book club.
Was it regular or extra crispy?
I don't know. It was a whole variety. There were mashed potatoes.
Extra crispy's too much.
There were mashed potatoes. There were drums.
When your sister ate it, did she sound like Barb's dad? Because if so, I want to run her over with a steamroller.
Multiple people in book club probably sounded like that.
I hate your book club now.
How dare you?
All right, let's move on.
Okay, I'm ready.
Barb is sad. This is good shit.
Barb is dead.
She is so sad. She's so dead. She's quite sad.
Poor Barb.
Nancy's also sad. Not as sad as Barb.
No, because Barb is fucking dead.
But pretty sad.
Nancy's like, I'm sad, but at least I'm not dead. And Barb's like, I am dead.
Yeah. So,
Mike is collecting his toys.
yes, we're getting this sequence, which is the sort of trauma, dealing with the trauma, these back-to-back scenes, right? So we go over to Mike gathering up his toys. Obviously not happy about it. He gets his Millennium Falcon, looks over to Levin's empty spot there where she would hang out. And tough go. Calls for Elle on the radio. It's me. It's Mike. It's day 352. I'm still here.
Oh, my heart.
Static. And then he
just
hears
wants to know if she's okay, he says.
Just wants to know.
Oh, my God, my heart.
Calls himself stupid.
This
Mike.
is so sweet.
Which is definitely Levin's voice. And then it's clearly Dustin's voice after that. Dustin and Lucas spike home. Dustin hears something. He thinks it is Musey. It's not. Muse, yep. Doesn't make a Muse-like sound, that's for sure. He goes inside, the trash can jumps.
But it's not the kitty.
Let's talk about this. Why do you suppose, and we've established this at this point in this episode, as we sort of draw to the end of it here, what are we establishing? We have the jumping trash can. Is that a coincidence? We have the stuff outside in the dead cornfields. Are we getting little snippets of the upside down reaching out and trying to touch? I mean, what is this?
I don't know about the cornfield thing. That might have just been a coincidence in being on edge, because Hopper is clearly on edge because of what he's got going on. But there's something with this scene with the trash can, because Dustin doesn't actually see it. He hears the weird noise. He calls for the cat. Cat isn't there. And then after he's gone, we see the trash can do the weird thing. So there's definitely something more to that.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
You know?
Yep. At the buyer's residence, Bob films Joyce, right? He's trying to make the first porno.
You film before you murder.
Trying to make the first porn. Jonathan chats with Will. Jonathan's great in this scene with Will.
I love this scene so much.
They talk zombie boy, and then Will says, and I like this, he resents being treated like he's different or like something's wrong with him, like he's a baby. It just makes him feel worse.
Like he's a freak.
Makes sense. It makes him feel more isolated. But Jonathan has great wisdom here.
Yeah.
His wisdom is, who cares if you are a freak, embrace it, because it's actually pretty cool.
Right. And Will says, and he says, I'm a freak. And Will says, is that why you don't have any friends? And
Hilarious.
Jonathan says, I have friends. And then he tells Will that Will is his best friend.
It's adorable.
And you know, I felt this way the first season. Like there was something about this relationship between the two of them that was so sweet and so real to me and so well done. And this scene made me feel the same way, especially when they talk about, well, who do you want to be friends with, Bowie or Kenny Rogers? And they're like, oh, fucking duh, Bowie. And then Will's like, I guess some people like Kenny Rogers.
Will you boys take me to the upside down?
Bowie would have loved the upside down.
I would love to go to the upside down, boys.
It's like all the stairs and labyrinth. Oh God.
Yeah.
And when Will's like, I guess some people like Kenny Rogers, and Bob walks by, he's like, I love Kenny Rogers, and they both start laughing. Dude, like this inside joke between the two of them. It's so well done.
You know what? That's a pop up to the third base side. He's out. He's got 2 left.
It is so good.
It's a great scene. You're a freak, but what? Do you want to be normal? Being a freak is the best. I'd rather be friends with Zombie Boy than a nobody.
Yeah.
Let your freak flag fly. Can't say that fast. Bob comes over. He watches...
Mr. Mom.
I wrote Mr. Rogers by accident. But no, this is in fact Mr. Mom with fucking our boy.
Michael
Keaton.
I love fucking Jonathan. Looks like he's asleep. Like he's about to snore.
The rest of them
Joyce
giggle,
and Bob are laughing. And,
yeah, Will laughs a little.
But it's sweet. It's a sweet thing that they do together. They're trying to establish this, you know, Joyce wants a father figure for her kids, like a healthy adult role model, you know? And she's trying her best and she's happy and she's trying to be happy. And I think it's sweet. That's all I just do. I support this. And I love Jonathan and Will together. I like this was a fantastic scene. One of my favorites in this episode.
And a great touch on the phone call. Joyce reacting.
It scares her.
Of course, it should.
And he says, just let it go.
It's good shit.
But she doesn't want to let it go.
Of course not. She's traumatized.
Nope.
So the alarms are going off later that night. We see the buyer's residence. Will's taking a pee, washes his hands. Here's something rumbling, very intense. We get this really cool red lightning effect. This, Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse looking red cloud thing again. Looks like the end of the world outside. I like the zoom in on the goose flesh.
Mm-hmm. On the back of his neck, yep.
Very scary.
And that's the thing where it's like when he's like, no, I don't feel cold.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like,
frozen.
But the fucking chills. Yeah, it doesn't feel frozen, but still the chills, And
we see this massive looking Call of Cthulhu type of beast just lingering with these tentacles in the red. And it's awesome. I love it. It looks cool. Man, we're if there's one thing we're doing in this scene is we're establishing that Will is continuing to have this sight beyond sight. And he has this intuition for this upside down, having been imprinted by it. And we're also showing that the stakes are fairly high this season as compared to last in terms of just the monster in question. This big giant thing. Maybe it is why the upside down even exists. Who knows? But it's massive and scary. And it's definitely got Will on edge.
For sure. Rightfully so.
Rightfully so. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about this final scene because it is great.
I agree. I loved it a lot.
Tell me why. Tell me.
Hopper,
we know what happened.
He goes out in the woods.
Tell me the ideas here.
He goes over this fucking trap. He knocks on the door. This like special knock, and it just unlocks. And he walks in, and like the conversation where he's like,
because she mentally unlocks it.
No, she probably, or maybe, yeah.
Exactly. He's like, she hears it and goes, okay, that's him. Unlocks it probably with her mind.
No, you're probably right. I didn't even think about that, but you're correct.
I might be correct.
No, it makes sense, though.
It makes sense.
He's so funny. There's a table with the 2 meals. There's waffles. And you're like, oh my God, 11's here. And he's like, hey, what do we talk about? And she's so cute. She's like, it's 8:15. You didn't call or whatever she says he didn't do, that he was going to be late. And she's like, it's 8:15. And he's like, it's 8:15. She's like, oh. And when she ever comes out, and in the way he talks to her, he's like, what do we talk about? Dinner first and then dessert. And they sit and they have dinner together.
The waffle, yeah.
And it's literally for this man who lost his child.
Mm-hmm.
And
I forgot about that.
Yes.
Holy shit, that's great.
This almost made me cry. I thought it was like so for all this time, we assume, for almost a year, he's been being her dad.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah.
And it is like an incredibly emotional thing to set up.
Right.
It was just unbelievable to watch this idea of, and he comes in and he's like such a dad, and and you can tell that she's emotionally attached to him about how he's late and he didn't tell her he was going to be late. He didn't signal. That's what it was. He didn't signal.
Didn't signal.
I love this.
It's a clever way to keep 11 in the story, right?
Right.
Because that's a concern. How does 11 exist with her? I mean, she's a mess. Let's be real. How does she exist with these boys? How does she? So we see that this is how it's
live in the Wheeler basement forever. Although based on the Wheeler parents and how much they suck at life, and don't understand anything that's going on around them, maybe she could live there forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, not really. But,
no, I know I'm being sarcastic.
Yeah, but I think it's important that we see how she's existing in her current situation, how it's working. It makes sense that Hopper would elect to be her caretaker. Mm-hmm. He's very protective in general, as we see, regardless of whether or not he lost his daughter. Obviously, that's a major part of what he must be feeling right now. But he's just a good guy in general, and he's going to protect. And I like that.
And you think back to the earlier scenes when Murray is basically talking about 11 and Hopper keeps deflecting. He's like, hey, has anybody seen her? At the time, I was thinking, he's asking if anyone's seen her recently because he's been trying to find her because we saw him like leave the waffles out at the end, but we didn't know.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's even more than that. Like, I thought he was like he's trying to find her. And then to see that he's been with her probably for a long time based on how the relationship between the two of them seems. There's obviously a familiarity. There's like a set schedule. There's rules between them that they talk about. There's a father-daughter type of relationship that's been established. Mm-hmm. So when he's talking to Murray and he's saying stuff like this, he's saying this to protect her. You know, it's sweet.
Yeah, it's good. And that's it. We pull away, we ramp up the really cool music by Survive, I believe they're called. And we cut to black hard, and that's the end of the episode, and it's done. And it's cool, man. Like, we've established we've touched upon some of the things that happened. We've established a couple of new things that are happening. The blight, Will's visions, the alarms going off at the end. So yeah, I like this. It's good shit. And then, of course, some interpersonal relationships are being established as well. What's going to happen between Nancy and Steve? How does Jonathan play into that? What's going to happen with Max and Billy? What's going on with Will? What's going on, with Mike and Eleven? He's going to get the chance to see her again. And Lucas and Dustin had more of a larger role, even if it was a little bit more comedic. But we know they can be serious too. They were in the last season. So cool. I thought I did a good job of establishing what I needed to do. Do you have any final thoughts you want to mention before we say goodbye?
My final thought is just that as I talk this through, where I was like, I'm hesitant and I like this episode, but I love the season 1 premiere so much that, I can't. But talking through it, I was like, I really did like this episode a lot.
Yeah.
Like, talking through it made me realize
helps.
how much I actually did like the episode, and that I'm just being a little hard on it because the season 1 premiere is like untouchable. You can't go back and recreate that,
I'll tell you what, doing this podcast and the various ones that we do has given me this perspective on that. As you talk through something, a lot of times you're either going to like it more or less.
Yeah.
Rarely will I feel the exact same way about something. Oh no, I guess that's not true. But it does tend to get you
put things in perspective.
It does tend to help you with a new perspective.
Right.
And if you're open-minded, you can kind of consider things you hadn't before,
Yeah, as I talk through it, I'm like, oh, I loved all of these things. And the more I talk about how much I love things, the more I'm like, I think the only reason that I was hesitant on this is just because I loved the season 1 premiere so much. And I don't even think it's fair to compare the two.
Yeah.
Because this season 2 premiere could never be as good as the season 1 premiere, because when Stranger Things first started, there had never been a Stranger Things before, and you were like, holy shit. Now we've had Stranger Things, we've had It. We're on this whole role of these young kids coming of age stories.
And it really is character driven, but the plot is so important too because of the complexity of it and this upside down, and you're dealing with a pretty impressive array of options for stories in terms of using something like the upside down. So you have to be careful not to overdo it or make it too big and gaudy, right? So it's good to continue to go back to the formula that's working while upping the stakes a little bit more as time goes on. You don't want to radically change it. You want to establish your second season with a formula that seems to work, which is reminding us who these characters are. We immediately fall back in. When I first watched the season 1 premiere and they're playing D&D, and you're into these kids, and now you're immediately into these kids again as they get a little bit older. It's awesome.
Right, exactly. No, you're 100% correct.
But before we say goodbye, why don't you tell these people, as this is sort of a drop all at once, how we're going to attempt to try to get a couple, maybe 2 a week if possible.
So what we're going to try to do, these podcasts as often as possible, because we personally don't want to be spoiled on the next episode when we're podcasting, because that kind of colors your view. So we're going to watch them all at once and then podcast. It won't really work as well. So we're going to try to watch episode by episode, podcast as often as we can. We're going to try to, but not commit to, doing a podcast on Sunday night, maybe if we're lucky. We're definitely going to do some podcasting on Wednesday for sure. And then we're going to go from
Wednesday, November 1st.
Yep, that 100% is going to happen.
Well, without telling dates, because this will be irrelevant. Basically,
that's live shows, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll drop them as soon as they're done.
Basically, we're going to try to do a couple of weeks, so keep tuning in. Subscribe to the podcast 100%. If you just found us, subscribe, and you will get the episodes when they go up. As we start to figure out the schedule, we may put it up on the website under the schedule, but because it's a weird binge situation, we don't have a solid schedule for it. We might not, but maybe I will. If we plan out a couple in advance, I'll probably throw them up on the schedule. which I believe is libertystreetgeek.net/schedule. I think that's the website. But if it's not, just go to libertystreetgeek.net. And I think schedule is one of the first tabs on the website. So we'll try to keep you guys abreast of when we will be releasing these, and certainly when we're recording them, so you can jump in on the live chat and offer your cool perspective, much like these guys just did. But I think until then, we're going to bid you good people adieu. Thanks again for tuning into the Hawkins Report, and we will see you in the Upside Down very soon.
Thanks, guys.